You're listening to the Ridge Journal Podcast with Josh Lloyd.
This is our exit interview with Coach Will Byrne of the Maiden Blue Devils. We had a really great season. You went 5 rounds in the playoffs. My first question for you is, what do you think it took to get that far in the playoffs? And how hard is it to get that far?
I mean, this is the first time we played in December since 1992. And I thought, playing on Thanksgiving is a special thing. And but the fact that, we made it there, in 21 and 22, and those were long seasons. And then, this year going all the way in December, and you're like, we're getting ready to get out of school. Like, this is taking up our whole summer, and it's getting ready to be Christmas, and we're still playing football. Just the grind was wild, and it took a lot.
Did you find that fatigue was setting in with your team later in the season, or were they handling it pretty well?
I thought they handled it really well, especially with the conference, the way it was, the ups and downs that we had. But I think that also helped, was a major, factor in us getting through those 5 rounds, of playoff games and practice. And, we had to change the way we practiced, as the season went on. Because, every Friday night we're getting banged up because we're playing somebody really good. Yeah. And so we had to navigate our way through, those practices and find out what's best, when to go hard, when to kind of lay off a little bit. But the kids responded well, and when it came time to, really bear down and grind and get it done, whether it was physically or mentally, I think they did a great job of that. Same with the coach, obviously same with the coaches. The coaches are, the ones that help set that tone. But the players responded really well.
We're sitting here in Maiden's press box, and I've been kind of visiting press boxes around the county this month. And it's something strange for us, because you and I are about the same age. We're inheriting this rich history of football, and this press box has been here for a long time. Well, I mean, since 2006, I guess. Right. But you're one of the last schools to still have grass football field, and this is kind of like, it's like a legacy stadium where, like, you can come here and it still feels like the old way a bit. Do you like that it's this way? Are you trying to hold on to certain things that the past had that now it seems to be is being let go of at other schools? Just everybody's on turf now, and so now we have grass football field here. It seems to me like it's a really beautiful stadium, just as it is. I wouldn't want to change anything. And in time, it'd be unique to see this still a grass stadium, almost like you see like in the majors. There are certain stadiums that still have grass and they're not turf. What do you think about that as a football coach?
The biggest thing here, and it's never going to change because they're never going to change it, is the track around the field. Our fans, and myself included, and Coach Brown, when they built this thing, he fought it tooth and nail to, put the track elsewhere, which they could have. But that's long gone. But this is a beautiful stadium. It's one of the nicest facilities around. Mm-hmm. We're sitting here in a 3-story press box with an elevator.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But in terms of traditions, we recently made the tunnel here at the 50-yard line, which kind of brought back the old school. Mm-hmm. So really more of trying to bring stuff back, like the tunnel coming out at the 50-yard line is now here. And it happened to be a great season. I know it wasn't the season we all wanted to. We could have had a couple more wins here or there. But that was really neat. I think the fans really like that, the students like that, the players like that. The grass field, I've told many people that I do not want turf. I know I don't make that decision, and eventually we probably will have turf, and there are perks to having turf. But you know, we still have the grass field, and I'll still fight for the grass field, even when that day comes. But the fans still come. They love Maiden football. They fill this side up, you know, every Friday night, and they're just they're so proud of this program and how these kids have continued to just carry on the legacy that Tom Brown built.
All right, this is a tough one. In one sentence, who was this Maiden team in 2025?
Well, in one word, I would say gritty. In a sentence, I would say probably one of the most selfless teams in the long run that we've had in a long time. You know, every team's selfless in a way, but this team kind of went above and beyond to really, truly be selfless, because we preach that all year. We have a couple good running backs. You got 4 or 5 really good receivers. You know, you only have one football. And, you know, defensively, the guys that stepped up late in the year, the corners were steady all year with Javian Siegel and Keaje Smyer. And Hampton Reed and Blake Lackey were the starters at the beginning of the season. Blake had a season-ending injury. And Easton Watts-Murray stepped into that role. And then Hamp got hurt late in the season, and Sawyer Hudson came in and played. And those guys that were out, like when Blake knew his season was over, he was still a major part of the team. He was still a captain. He was still helping those guys. He essentially became a player coach. And he was helping Sawyer and Easton, you know, how to get lined up, how you line up to this formation, what's our check, what coverage are we in, what run fit do I have? And the fact that, you know, Hamp was our leading receiver. He was our go-to guy. When he was in, he's going to get targeted the most. And then Javian Siegel came on. Him and Hamp and Keaje, they were the guys, you know, that we were going to target the most, you know, the first half of the year. And then Javian Siegel comes on, and he's able to take the top off in terms of like deep routes, post routes, phase, whatever it may be. And Keaje kind of moved into the slot, into a different role where he didn't quite get targeted as much. And the fact that those guys just accepted and trusted us that what we were doing just says a lot to our kids, and especially young kids, that in today's game where, you know, a lot of it's about me, but I think this team was really about Maiden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's rooted in a sense of community pride, and you're seeing the town of Maiden really rally behind you, which they've always done. But when you have a deep run in the playoffs like that, people really get excited. Did you see a lot of alumni coming back this year as they saw that you guys were really making a run?
Oh, yeah. Starting the Newton playoff game. Yeah. Started getting phone calls, texts from old friends, hadn't talked to maybe a year, maybe even 4 or 5 years. Even had a guy I graduated with that lives in Michigan come to the Brevard game. The High Brighton game was another one that, you know, just a lot of people came, you know, that hadn't been around in a while. They're coming from all over the place. It's just cool. You know, it's really cool to see.
Your team played several very close games. You won a few, you lost a few, but the ones that you won were the ones that counted. What do you think it is that gets a team to understand how to win those games? How do you win those games, you know, week in and week out when they're like one point games? I mean, High Brighton was a 1 point game. There were a few others during the season that were very close. Some that you lost, but were so close. Like, what do you, as a coach, this is a better question. As a coach, how do you sort of like get those guys to understand how to get over that hump and to win those battleground games?
Well, it's the preparations throughout the week, knowing your assignment. But the main thing is like I alluded to how this team was, they're just so resilient and gritty, and they never give up. Like, no matter what, don't ever give up. And these guys, they had it last year. I mean, Lincoln beat us by 1 here, and then we go to Lincoln in the playoffs and beat them by 3 or 4, whatever it was. And in those wins, like you said, the ones that matter, the wins, like Lincoln last year, Kiaje has a huge interception in that game, in the playoff game last year. So that builds into the next year with experience. And he had a huge interception in game 1 against Lincoln in a 3-point win. And, you know, wasn't to seal the game, but it was a huge turning point in the game. Same thing with High Brighton. You know, it's just back and forth. And, you know, we think we have it, and then all of a sudden we give up a big play and they score, and we got plenty of time to get the ball back, and our guys are just like, okay, let's just go down and score and win the game. And we go down and score, and then now they got time left. And, you know, we give up a big play, which it wasn't a busted coverage, it was just their quarterback made a great throw, and the receiver dove and caught the ball on 4th and 12. And all of a sudden now they're in not just field goal range. I mean, they're inside the 10. And it was, I believe, third and goal from wherever, the 5-yard line, whatever. And quarterback runs, and our defensive end stays his assignment. Instead of chasing the running back,
right,
he stays at home and squeezes it down Brooks Hayden. And the quarterback, if he doesn't stay focused and doesn't lose focus in that moment with 25 seconds to go in the game, and he chases the ball, that quarterback walks into the end zone and we get beat. And the field goal attempt never happens. And he makes a solo tackle, which is probably one of the best plays, not maybe all year, that any player made on defense, but for a 4th-round game to go for a chance to go to a regional final, for him to make that solo tackle on a really good quarterback at the 3-yard line to force a field goal attempt, which obviously we all know is on the left hash. Those things, I mean, a lot of people probably understand what happened there, but a general fan wouldn't understand that.
But to understand how difficult it is to kick a field goal from the left hash, too.
But just to make that play,
yeah,
for that kid, for Brooks to make that play at that time was, I mean, it saved the game.
All those things kind of come into play, and then, you know, they missed that field goal in High Brighton, right? And he, you know, his tackle there essentially kind of like set it up so that it would be a difficult kick, even though it was close, correct? I wasn't at the game, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so, you know, the pressure's on. It's the last play of the game pretty much, and, you know, the kicker has to come through, and the dice rolled in your favor that night. Yeah,
I mean, we put Tay Bradley, big 6'4", we put him in the middle, told him to just jump as high as you can, get your hands up. And of course, we had Javian Siegel and Keaje Smyer coming off the edge. Like, this is it. Like, lay out. I mean, I thought we were going to block it, to be honest with you. I could see it in our kids' eyes, like, we can't go out like this.
I couldn't see it in the footage. Did it shank left or right?
Left. He missed it left.
And he was a right-footed kicker?
Right-footed kicker,
Very interesting.
But I really think the pressure that we had caused him to miss it.
Yeah.
And that's just a testament to our kids. Like, you know, they were going to give it all, whether that thing was going to go in or not. They were going 100 miles an hour, 100%, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
and
there was a lot of beef after that game regarding the play calling, but me having a bird's eye view on this, I have been at Maiden games throughout the regular season where the play calling was atrocious. And I've seen plays go in favor for Maiden, and I've seen plays not go in favor for Maiden when they absolutely should have, based on play call. Respectfully, as a coach, can you speak on the play calling this season?
The play calling is offensive and defensive play calling?
No,
or
like the officiating.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The officiating play calling. Yeah.
It was a tough year, but they were consistent. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of our holding penalties, it was on us. I mean, there were blatant calls. Like, there were a couple here and there that you could argue, but for the most part, like, you know, if we're throwing the football and the quarterback's supposed to stay in the pocket and he has to get out of the pocket, your tackles don't know where the quarterback is, and when that defensive end starts going towards the quarterback, it's kind of hard not to hold. You know, you don't want to let him get away, even though they're taught once your arms get extended, you gotta let go. But I don't think it had any bearing on wins or losses. It was frustrating for sure. But we weren't the only team. I mean, it's gone both ways.
I felt, you said they were consistent. I felt they were consistent in being inconsistent. Seeing what I saw this year.
You said it.
Just my issue was with what they called as celebration. We had in the North Lincoln game, we had, I believe it was number 31 or 33. He makes a fantastic open field tackle. And then he just pushes off the kid. I can cut to the clip. He pushes off the kid. And he's like, yeah. And then they're like, flag.
And he didn't stand over that kid.
No, he didn't.
Stepped away, and he was right here on our sideline. Yeah. And he was just so excited. And that it takes away. I don't agree with celebrating at all. I don't agree with taunting.
Right.
Anything like that. But a hit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you see in Oklahoma drills on your first day of contact. You see people running through people.
Yeah.
And when it happens in a game, get excited. I mean, that's what football is all about. It's smash mouth. I want to try to knock your helmet off. This is a game where this is a violent game.
It should be a violent game.
It's a very violent game.
That's the whole
point. And we teach it.
That's how it was created. The game was created to be violent.
Yes.
And by men.
Yeah. And Jeremiah Kang, Bob, we call him Bob, is a heck of a player, and he is very, very, very violent. And he comes to hurt you. He comes to inflict pain. Yeah. Every time he comes to try to make a tackle.
And then, you know, in the second playoff game against Newton, you scored it was a beautiful touchdown pass. Nothing wrong with the touchdown at all.
Oh.
And then he does what Jeremiah did, but then he gets to do like a Gronkowski dance. And at that point, I see a flag being called, but they didn't call that flag. And I'm like, I'm seeing the same faces at these games as the refs. I'm like, some of y'all who are at that North Lincoln game are here tonight, and y'all are calling that play, but then not calling this as a flag. And both are celebrations. Which one's which? And it was just really frustrating for me to see. It's like, It's like the touchdown should count, but maybe there should be 15 tacked on when he dances like that, right? But at the same time, it wasn't called. No big deal. Y'all are already up 3 touchdowns. It wasn't going to change the matter of the game anyhow. But it's, I kept seeing that all year. Whether I was at the Newton games or if I was at a Maiden game or otherwise, I was seeing play calls that were happening that just weren't consistent. And I don't know who to contact about that outside of just like sending the clips into the NCHSAA and letting them do what they do, using them for, I guess, training next season.
Yeah, and they get, each week they request film. Okay. So they get the film and they review it, and like I said, I think they were consistent and fair. I'm not going to say it was bad officiating. I'm not going to say that. And one thing I will, and I think Matt Wilson is also on. We're on an official board with the local officials. We have a meeting in January.
Oh, good.
So
I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, so we'll be in those meetings with those officials, and hopefully
if you need clips, I can send you clips you can take in there with you on a USB. I'll be giving Matt some too. I just like to see the officiating get a bit better, if possible. I know they had just brought in some young officials, so who's to say how things are going now? I'm sure that internally they're working on it. They're not trying to just be not good at it. So we'll see what happens. But certainly was a frustration for me on the sidelines. I don't know how it feels as a coach or even as a player to have that happen, good or bad. But what do close games expose about a program? Like how you handle them? You mentioned this before, but can you elaborate a bit more? My follow-up will be, what did you like about how your guys handled pressure?
Well, close games just show the character of a team.
True.
And I think this team had great character in many ways. Obviously in the close wins, even the close losses, the double overtime loss to Newton.
Y'all remained very composed.
We never gave up. Like I said, we were composed. They made one more play than we did.
Yeah.
And then we responded. I know we got a bye for the first round, but then we responded tremendously in that North Sawyer game and played one of the best games we played all year. And now, what was the follow-up to the character?
It was just, what did you like about how you guys handled that pressure?
Yeah, just the fact that they stayed calm in whatever moment it was, whether it was the field goal attempt that High Brighton missed,
yeah,
whether it was the first game of the year against Lincoln, who made it to the regional finals in 3A. We're up 29-26. It's 4th and 3 or 4th and 4, and they're flirting with the red zone at Lincoln. They were just outside of field goal range, and they went for it on 4th and 4, 4th and 3. I can't remember exactly what it was, but our 2 inside linebackers, Shannon Blake and Jeremiah Kang, both made the game-winning stop 1 yard short, and we get the ball and take a knee, and we win the game. Mm-hmm. And that was the first game of the year, so kind of
that set the tone.
Goes to shows that our guys. We knew Lincoln was going to be a tough game anyway. And then, the next week you lose by 1 to AC Reynolds.
Well, I was going to bring them up.
So, but yeah, game 1 set the tone. Like, okay, our guys they're going to be a team that's not going to give up. We feel. And it held true throughout the season because like we all know, we lost 5 games and, Hickory, East Lincoln, AC Reynolds.
Yeah.
And we bounced back from each one of those games.
Well, and without knowing it, I feel like you may have been a part of football history just by the way, how tightly you played AC Reynolds, not knowing that was Shane Law's last season. What's it like playing against a coach like that who's so well structured?
It was a test not just for our team, but us as coaches. Maiden's never played AC Reynolds before.
Yeah.
And
it was an interesting matchup.
A very interesting matchup. I coached against Shane Laws when I was at Watauga, and AC Reynolds were in the same conference.
Right.
So I knew how great of a coach he was. I knew how great of a person he was. And we had some battles those 2 years when I was at Watauga. I think we beat them one time out of, counting the playoff game, I guess we played them three times. So
They were really good back then too.
yeah, really good. We beat them in the 3rd round of I don't know if it was 06 or 07, but we, anyway, so going from a 4A at that time, one of the biggest schools in the state, or the highest classification, and now being here at Maiden, or a 2A school, now we're getting ready to face an AC Reynolds team that is a great program. They have a great pool of talent.
Resources.
Yes, and a beautiful stadium.
Yes.
Which I know the game was here, but
right.
But just, talking to Coach Laws that week, just how professional he was, how nice he was, how complimentary he was of our program, leading up to the game and after the game. And then, sitting in the press box with him on Thursday night, the JV game up there in Nashville, and just talking to him, just, he's a standard of what a Hall of Fame high school football coach is.
And he comes right out of the Western Foothills too.
Yep. Newton guy, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to the double overtime loss. This is an interesting piece of the narrative we're putting together for the film, if we get the chance to complete it. You lost to Newton Conover in double overtime, then beat them in the playoffs at their place. But you played them both times at Newton. What changed between the double overtime loss and then the victory you had in the 3rd round, which was, in my opinion, a dominant victory? There was no chance. You just kind of walked through that round, and then you went on to High Brighton. What was there a mindset shift?
100%.
Tell me about it.
We went into that first game basically thinking / knowing we were supposed to win that game, and that's 100% on me. That's my fault. But credit to Newton and Matt Wilson. His team was ready to play, and they completely shut down our run game. And when that happened, we made some adjustments, and it was a wake up call for myself and our team. And you should know better. I mean, it's a rivalry game. Plus, they have a great record anyway.
It's easy to see a team like that and overlook them. You can kind of sense it early on. I think I came around week 7 or 8. And you can kind of tell that the guys didn't think it was going to be much of a big deal. New play-in surface that played a role. They had never played on that surface before, and it's still very new and very slippery.
It is very slick. It's a very unique field.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What, as a coach, what were you saying to them after that game? Because you went on a tear in the playoffs.
We knew going into that game, when I say it was a wake-up call because we lost. And let me go back and say, I think we went in a little too overconfident. I don't think we went in there with no disrespect at all.
No.
Because we knew we were going to get a tough game, but on paper, we're a better team on paper.
And you were favored throughout the rankings.
Right. So we should have won that game, and, of course, we didn't.
What was going through your mind when you found yourself standing at the 50-yard line going into overtime? Because you looked like you were like, why am I here? We shouldn't be here right now. We're the better team. We should have this game locked up. That's the impression I got. Now, you weren't saying that out loud. I'm just sitting there as an empath watching from behind my camera.
It was probably from the frustration of the touchdown pass to Hampton Reed with 40 seconds to go, and then all of a sudden we get an interior holding call from a guard.
Right.
After he's in the end zone.
Yeah.
And that could have been game over. But ifs, ands, and buts, it doesn't matter. It wasn't a touchdown, so now we're in overtime. So, but we've been in overtime games before, and okay, here we go again. We're in another overtime game.
For Matt and I, and a little backstory, Matt and I both grew up, he was 4 or 5 years younger than me, but his dad was coaching at Newton at the same time my dad was. And he and I both have the exact same memories of playoff games from like the early 90s, where they went into double overtime against Thomasville. Or I remember there was one year where they had to draw straws for the tie.
Yep, I was there for that.
You were there for that?
Yep.
Yeah, and Newton lost that.
Yep, it was at Newton.
And one thing that he did that I think may not have made sense to you at the time, you may have not even cared. He chose that other end zone. At first we were going this way, and he chose that other end zone. He chose that because of the history, and he knew the Thomasville game, which they lost, by the way, they had to play into that end zone. And we just, when he chose it, when we were walking back to the sideline, I was like, sudden death? And he's like, yeah. And as children almost, we were excited because we remembered sudden death when we were kids. And we've never been in that game like that. I mean, Matt's probably been in a few sudden deaths at this point, but I hadn't been there like that with Matt. And so it was really interesting for us. And we were just kind of like remembering and reminiscing on what it was like when we were kids in that 1991 playoff game. And so that was a lot of fun. And the fact that Newton won, of course, everybody was celebrating, but it really did kind of like double down on that history part that we were really excited to be a part of. And so to see Maiden, go into that game, lose that game, but then come back and win, even Matt said it ended the way it was supposed to end. Maiden was the better team in 2025, and it showed in round 3. What was the message to your team the week of that playoff rematch? Did you have anything that you were saying to them directly when you went in and won?
Revenge. I mean, like I said, I don't know if I said it earlier, but this team was on a mission, and I think that our goal was to win a state championship all year. But after that happened, and we had to sit a week, I think it's when it really settled in to our players and our coaches that we're on a mission now. Because we knew going into that game it meant home field advantage.
Right.
We knew they got an extra home game instead of us. And we knew that. We told the players, you're playing for an extra home game. Mm-hmm. And now we had to go on the road. And as soon as that bracket came out, not that we looked past North Surrey, but it was like, all right, let's go. Well,
you made a point against North Surrey, and you made the most of the home game you had. What was the score of that game, final?
49-21, I believe.
What was it like as a coach bringing a home playoff game to Maiden? Because, it doesn't happen every year. It seems like y'all might have had a few in the past couple of years, but how does the community rally around y'all when you have a home playoff game? Because it gets serious at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you want to have more, but home playoff games are huge. I mean, that's whenever the fan, not that they don't come out in the regular season, but they come out more, in the playoffs. So the stands get more full. And, like I said, the team was on a mission. I think it was one of our most complete games.
Yeah.
Even though we gave up 21 points, they had a Division I receiver, and they played him everywhere. Receiver, running back, quarterback, and to hold him in check and to absolutely, going from rushing for 20 yards against Newton 2 weeks before
200.
To having 360.
Right, yeah. Well, Shannon Wingate had 200 plus on his own, right? in rushing?
Oh, that was the Newton game. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
Oh no, the
North Surrey we had 360.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. North Surrey, I believe we had 360 rushing, and also threw for 175-ish.
It's incredible.
Without Hampton Reed.
Right.
So yeah, Javian Siegel had 4 catches. Keaje Smyer had 4 catches. Tay Mays Bradley had 4 catches. And Grant Lawing was 14 for 16, 88%.
It's very good.
And Hampton Reed was on the sideline, didn't even dress out. So you had Easton Watts Murray, who had already had playing experience. You had Sawyer Hudson starting now at safety, who stepped up and played a big role and played a great game. It just goes to show that how this team was and how the guys that aren't starting, they were great special teams players. All right, now you're in. Like it's your time to play. You get your practice reps, but
it's not the same.
Now it's going to be a lot faster speed than it is in practice, and those guys did a great job of that.
All right, let's move on. We spoke on this in our last interview. I want to double down on it though. Western Foothills football is different. What does this conference demand that outsiders don't see?
Just mental toughness. You go from Friday night, you're playing a tough team, you're going to win or you're going to lose. So you have to reset by sometime Saturday. For us as coaches, it's by Saturday at noon, lunchtime. And you got to reset for whoever you're playing next, because the next opponent is either tougher or just as good, or it's going to be a tough game either way.
Yeah,
you just got to reset and refocus. You got to go from the high of a great win over a good team, a rivalry game most of the time, or a tough loss. And you just got to reset. Okay, now, we just lost. Now we got to reset and refocus, and we got to win next week. Or if we, win a huge game against Newton Conover or Bandy's or whoever it may be, and then, it was a great win. Enjoy it that night, but you can only enjoy it for that night, and you have to reset and refocus the next day, because you got a whole nother great team to play that might have a totally different offensive scheme or defensive scheme or whatever it may be.
Well, for me, I look around at all the other conferences, and many of them are very competitive. But there are teams that stand out in each of those conferences that are always, the team that's going to lead the pack into the playoffs. AC Reynolds, Watauga, even High Brighton, in these outside conferences. But in our conference, looking back on the rankings just this year, in the top 5 of the 5A, you got Hickory and East Lincoln, right? And in the top 10 of the 4A, you've got Maiden and Newton Conover. And Bandy's wasn't far behind in those ranks. They weren't in the top 10. But, it's pretty impressive to have 5 teams in your conference, in these rankings showing up. Is there a robustness to our area that other conferences just don't have? And, the Western Foothills 4A, 5A is now newly gelled as a conference. Before we had like the South Fork 2A and whatever, but now it's all becoming this 4A, 5A meld. What do you think that's doing for the competition in our area? Because, it's rare to see, 5A and 4A competing against each other, but we are. It really rubs the rock smooth, so to speak. You can't help but feel that tension each week. What is it about our area that's bringing so many good athletes to these teams?
I think it goes to the communities of the rich traditions of of Hickory.
Yeah.
Hickory's had a great football program for a long, long time. East Lincoln has had a great football program for maybe not as long as Hickory and Maiden
About 2
and
decades.
Newton, but for a long sustainable time.
And
now.
they were really good in the 70s.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I know that now, but yeah. But like you said, for the past 2 decades, almost 3 decades now, they've been, really, really, really strong community, great football program. Langton, which I know that we're not talking about, they're not in our league, but
they
again,
they're still on the
they're
in the
still their
conversation.
traditional, great football program. Newton Conover, from Don Patrick to Nick Basil,
Now to
great
Matt.
now to Matt, great football program. Bandy's, Randy Longman, been to multiple state championships. Great rich tradition, great community, great football program. Here, Tom Brown, Maiden's been good for a long, long time. And I think it just goes back to each community's unique in its own way. We're unique, Newton's unique, Hickory, East Lincoln.
Part of what makes the team successful, though, is the community surrounding the coaches allows the coaches to coach. And you see, and I don't mean to bring this up because it seems to be a topic I love to talk about, but communities that are meddlesome within the ranks of the team and the parents who are overzealous often help fracture those teams, and they're not as good as they could be. When a coach is given the chance to discipline and to coach the way he needs to or she needs to, your team can really fly at that point. Maiden seems to give you room to breathe. Can you talk on that a bit? Because it seems like you've got a great AD. It seems like you've got a great community behind you. What is it that Maiden gives you as a coach that other schools might not get or other coaches at schools might not get?
It's just the community support, starting with Kane Hauser, our AD, Brian Hefner, our principal, and Zindy Wilfong, our assistant principal. It starts with them. They 100% back everything I do and we do as a football program. And the community is tremendous. The parents are great.
Yep.
They know how I am as a coach, and I tell them in our parent meeting at the beginning of the year, you can be a great football player, but if you're not doing the right thing in the classroom, if you're not in the weight room, then those are things that are just things that have to be done. And if you do those things, and the parents know that we are going to put the best players on the field and put them in the places what's best for our team. And some people played positions that, for example, we had some people that could play tight end for us that played offensive tackle because this was best for Maiden football.
Right.
And they bought into that.
Yeah. Did they ever make it on Hand's team at least?
Yeah. Mario Abisher ended up playing offensive tackle for us. He played defensive line, and he ended up starting at offensive tackle. But he's one of the ones that he was a tight end as well.
Well, that's a position you really want to have depth at too, tight end. And so knowing that you have more people who can play that position is really great.
Yeah.
All right. What was the toughest loss to process this year?
Newton Conover.
We already spoke on it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go any further with it? You want to talk more about that? Because you've already given us a good bit.
No, not really. Besides that, Hickory.
Well, it's a close game.
Being up 21-7 at halftime, complete domination.
What was it? Speaking on Hickory, Hickory was a very tough team, and you saw them get better all season. But when you met them, it was still young in the season, and I don't think they had got their wheels under them yet. What was it in that first half that really dominated for Maiden?
I think, in my opinion, I think we kind of shell-shocked them a little bit. I don't think they, and you would have to ask Joe.
You might see me talking to Joe.
You'd have to ask Joe, but I don't think, maybe it didn't come from Joe, but their players maybe didn't think we were going to be as physical as we were. And I think, I was talking to Coach Herman, our defense coordinator, just yesterday. You think about it, the teams we played, whether we won or lost, they knew they were banged up.
Yeah.
Because our team was very physical.
Well, and I told you over the phone, I mean, Newton beat you in that double overtime game, but they lost a lot to do that. I mean, Cam Ezard was out after that game, and he never came back the rest of the season. They had several sprained ankles and bum shoulders after that game, and luckily, like you, they had that week to rest. But when they came back against Freddy Ford, I mean, they were missing a few guys, and so I mean, it took Newton a lot to get past Maiden in that Week 10 game. And it showed in round 3 because they couldn't meet you back at that same watermark again, could they? Speaking on that topic, how did attrition affect your team? And where did you see attrition really factor in, whether good or bad? The
good part is our kids take care of their bodies. Now, we were banged up too.
Sure, I know.
And like I've alluded to or talked about multiple times, this team was very physical. From our offensive line to defensive line, like Brandon Head and Brooks Hayden, our 2 defensive ends, were very, very, very violent. Like,
I've got footage.
Yeah, they are.
I was watching.
Brandon Head is.
What number is he again?
Number 15.
Okay, yes.
I think he had 20 tackles for a loss.
That's
this
good.
year. I don't know how many, around a dozen sacks. But those guys and the 2, Shannon Blake and Jeremiah Kang, they were just so physical and wanted to, not hurt people, but, they wanted to let it be known that I don't care how big you are, I don't care how small I am or how much I weigh, because Brandon Head's an undersized defensive end. Now, Brooks is 6'2",
right,
220. Brandon is 6'1", 190, 195. Our 2 inside linebackers are 5'8", 170, 175 pounds. But their heart and their toughness,
but
it goes a long way there.
At 5'8", 170 pounds, they may not meet the sizing chart to move on and play at the next level, but they're fantastic high school football players.
Absolutely.
And I've seen this year in, year out. A kid named Cade Sturgill from North Lincoln last year, and many others. How do you speak to guys like that? Because this is the glory. This is. I mean, they may go on. We don't know. But, at some point, everyone hangs it up. How do you speak to those players who are just like ravenous, physical football players, but they're probably never going to see the sunshine again after high school?
That I call them, if there was a definition for a Maiden high school football player, those guys fit that definition. Undersized, play with heart, and they're absolutely, like you said, rabid, violent players. Mindset, heart, and they're playing with pride of this community and putting on that Maiden Blue Devil football uniform.
How do they mitigate that physicality once it's over? That's the hard part, right? How do you just not get there again? Because it's still in you. Your freshman, sophomore year in college, on into your 30s, you still have that desire to put the punishment on somebody. Like you were probably that way, I imagine. How do you handle that after the game's over? That's a fun question.
Meaning after you graduate.
Where do you put that frustration and angst? Where do you take it? Do you take it to the bowling alley? I mean, what do you do?
For me, I took it to the weight. Well, I did play.
You played on.
But I never stepped on the field. I was redshirt. I did the weight room, so I took it out in the weight room. Like back when I played in high school, weight room wasn't a big thing.
Same. Well, it was beginning to.
It was starting.
We were getting the creatine, but we had the old creatine. We had to drink it, and it was nasty. Mm-hmm. Now you can take a gummy.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, it was just the weight room. Like Trent Loman and I, which I know he's out of the county now, but he and I were at App together, and we both just hit the weight room really, really hard. And then now for me, and of course, Trent's one of them, Matt's one of them, Jason Barnes, we get to coach it, luckily.
Yeah. Well,
and even though we don't get to physically do anything, we can't physically do anything about it, but at least mentally, you got to have that mental toughness and then just a mindset.
Yeah. Well, this is my way of hanging on. It's as close as I can get.
Yeah.
And so we're at the end. I'm going to ask you two last questions. When you step back, what's the biggest growth you saw from week one to the final game in the playoffs? And where did that growth come from?
I talked about how selfless the team was.
Yeah.
And I think that's what grew the most. We preached about it a lot every week, and it really showed whenever it first showed when Blake got hurt and he wasn't able to play the Bannies game, and Easton Watts Murray had to step into that role, and he did a great job, and he was a starter from there on out. Then Hampton Reed gets hurt, and Sawyer Hudson has to come in, and he does a fantastic job. He had, you wouldn't call it the game-winner interception, but he had a huge interception against Newton in the playoff game.
Was that in that was?
No, I'm sorry. That was not Newton. I'm sorry. High Brighton. He had a huge interception in the High Brighton game when they were driving to score, and that's just a testament to him. He was a great special teams player. He got his practice reps, but when the time came, he had that opportunity. They threw it his way, and he made that interception, and we went down and scored and took the lead.
Well, how much of that preparation was watching film? Because and I'm not talking about that specific play, but there was a play in round 3 against Newton when your number 3 broke on an interception and scored. And it's like he had been watching that on tape all week. That's how it felt. Even the coaches on Newton's sideline were like, dang, he broke on that. There was no stopping that play.
Yeah, and that's 100% preparation film and studying the quarterback.
Knowing that out pass is coming.
Knowing it was coming and telling him, if you feel it, trust it. And Javian's one that he grew so much individually as a player. He was very raw at corner in terms of his technique, backpedaling, hip turn, everything, movement, his confidence in coverage. Just as the weeks gone on, it got better and better and better. And it showed in that Newton game. And like that game was, even though it ended up 29-6, it took a whole quarter, over a quarter, and that's what kind of broke the seal.
That's what I was going to say.
That's exactly what it was. And he had that pick 6, and from there it was just, we started to tick and roll in that game.
In that moment, that was a significant momentum shift in that game, which you spoke on. What's it like on the other side of that coin when momentum shifts against you as a team? How How do you help your team really sort of reframe and reset and not let that momentum shift so negatively that you go down by 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes? Because it can happen so fast.
Sometimes there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you see it, and Brian Brown said it best one time. I don't know if it was during this season or last year, but he said it recently. Sometimes when momentum happens, there's really nothing you can do. Mm-hmm. Now you try as much as you can. Like, all right, let's stay focused. Play the next play. That's over. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't take that back.
Yeah.
Just keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. But sometimes, like in that Newton game, it just snowballed in our favor.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened in the Hickory game when we lost, and East Lincoln game. We're up at halftime in both those games, and they start grinding us out, running the football, and they start wearing us down. And over time, it's just something that you can't overcome. As much as you fight and try, and I think our players never gave up in any of those games.
I think when certain leaders get knocked out of the game, for teams in general, that can really be a low blow for them. And you can see the less physical players, if they see the leaderships falling off because of attrition or fatigue or just injury, just blatant injury, a lot of times they'll just sort of fold because they just don't feel like they can live up to it. And I think that's where depth really comes in. When you have a lot of depth, which you seem to have this year, you can lose a Hampton Reed and still march on and get past those tough teams like High Brighton. So that's interesting to see. And I guess it does help to have a lot of players that are physical, but also fighting for that spot. What was the competition like, Coach, on the practice field for these starting positions? Was it tough for you to make a decision on who started in these positions?
I mean, practice, like Tay Mays he played scout receiver. He didn't really play much. He went with the defensive line, but he never played any defense in the game. But he was always the scout receiver for the opposing team, and he made our corners and safeties, and our nickel outside linebacker, even our inside linebackers. We had to cover him at 6'4", 210, and Ben Blackwell was our scout quarterback and our backup quarterback, and those two guys, they completed so many balls between those two in practice that our scout, now granted, he probably would have got sacked, because our defensive line was there, but we always, tell him, let him make the throws so we can see the whole concept of the route. And Tay had hundreds of catches in practice against our starting defensive backs.
Well, one thing I noticed, and I went to several practices at different schools this year, and I got to see how different teams practiced, and your practices were very physical. Maybe not as physical as they used to be back in the day, but y'all were still going live. Y'all were still making full contact, and I'd see y'all pile up and practice in full dog piles, and who's got the ball, we don't know, we'll find out when the pile's clear type of stuff. In today's age, a lot of teams aren't practicing like that. They're practicing more like 7-on-7. Linemen go off to a field by themselves and they hit, but they never go live full like we would back in our day. What is it in your mind as a coach that you want to keep that kind of physicality happening on the practice field? Is there something that you think differently about? Because a lot of schools aren't doing it that way anymore.
Well, for us, I mean, this year we're fortunate. Not many of those guys went both ways, so we were good on good in terms of our offensive line was going against our starting defensive line.
Right.
And at times you had to hold back.
Sure.
Because of, as the year went on.
Yeah.
But at times, if practice was going a certain way and I didn't feel good about it, I would have to say, all right, we got to turn it up. If somebody gets hurt, somebody gets hurt. But I'm not going to sit here and watch this.
Well, you mentioned Oklahoma earlier. A lot of people frown about Oklahoma. They're like, you don't want to do Oklahoma anymore. It's too physical. Do you still find yourself from time to time doing those drills, especially early in the season? Or?
One time. First day of contact is the only time we tackle to the ground. Okay. We do it on the first day of contact, and we do not do that drill again. So now, like you talked about, in the box, the linemen and the linebackers, on Tuesdays, we're live 100%. Now, we don't tackle the running back or the quarterback, the ball carrier, whatever, but offensive lineman is going to try to drive that defensive lineman.
They've got to hit.
Yeah, and they are full contact mode. If somebody gets double teamed and pancake, and they take them to the ground, they're going to the ground.
When you go live from in the game, these kids aren't as seasoned as like college guys are or even pro guys are. And so when you see it go live, do you notice that a bit of them are a bit shocked by how much faster the game is on Friday night, especially early in the season? Because all of a sudden you go from, practice speed to game speed almost, literally overnight.
Yeah, so it takes a series.
Yeah.
Series into the game. Obviously depending on the team you're playing.
Right.
Like specifically Hickory, for example.
You're right.
You can't practice for the speed of their defensive linemen
or the speed of their no-huddle offense.
Yeah, we try to emulate that, but you can't.
It's incredibly fast.
You can't. Yeah, so they go so fast, and the way they can change personnel into that heavy package that they get into.
Nuts.
And you can't sub.
Yeah, we can't even film it. It's so fast.
Yeah.
And so we get caught up. We're running up and down the field trying to keep up with, because they'll pass a 60-yard pass down the field, and you better have a telezoom.
Yeah, we don't have the luxury of the NFL and college rule where when they sub in, they bring in another tackle and a tight end. We can't put in our big goal line package.
Also, there's no TV timeout.
Yeah, and you don't have that either. So, yeah. But that's a testament to Joe and Natoli over at Hickory
they're taking advantage of it.
For what they do. They're taking advantage of it. And they've got to change that rule because it's hard to have your dime package in or your base defense in and then get lined up to a goal line set where they're just, it's essentially direct snap to the running back, and they've got extra offensive linemen and tight ends and H-backs in there, and it makes it hard.
All right, last question. Looking ahead, what's the one non-negotiable for Maiden this offseason?
Weight room, like it always is.
Yeah.
We've got to continue to just get stronger in the weight room, gel as a team, make sure we continue that in terms of being together and being about Maiden. And there's going to be some, and they already know it, there's going to be some linemen that are going to go both ways. We're not going to have that luxury next year. We may, right, but they know there's a strong possibility that, like Brooks Hayden, he's going to be a full-time offensive lineman as well. He's not just going to play defensive end and be able to rest on offense. So those guys are going to have to go both ways. And here at Maiden, it's been done for forever. And this is really the first year we've had that luxury of not doing it. But next year it's going to be back to, all right, everybody's going both ways. Almost everybody's going to go both ways.
How many seniors are you losing this year, Coach?
12.
12? It's not that bad. Could have been 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so next season, how many seniors do you have coming in?
I believe 18.
That's good. That's good. And so a lot of those guys were starting this year then?
Yeah, a lot of those guys started. So we had a good mix of juniors, rising seniors that started and have great game experience.
Do you have any JV players coming up that you're excited about?
Oh, yeah. Jeremiah's little brother, Isaiah Kang, also plays inside linebacker. He's coming up. We got some skill guys that are come up and just add to the depth there. Losing Hampton Reed,
right?
And Blake Lackey.
Big shoes to fill.
It's going to be tough, but we got some JV guys, and whether it be wide receivers, defensive backs, linemen coming up. Rylan Coulter, he actually started at H-back in the playoffs for us and played JV all year, and he grew a lot from his freshman to the end of his sophomore year. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a huge help for us. I hate to mention names because I don't want to leave like certain people out.
Yeah.
Like Stacy Threadgill, Travis Good, come from the JV team. Anyway,
I want to ask you. Each year, there's always this. It's almost like musical chairs. Kids are jumping around from school to school. Do you see any kids coming in from out of town? I don't want you to project, but do you see anyone showing up out of nowhere coming in 2026?
Time will tell. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you've done this with Wingate? When a player out of nowhere just arrives at your school, as a coach, how do you welcome that player into the team? Because they can come with good and bad, whether that be their own mindset or the mindsets of the players who are already here. Jealousies and stuff like that can flare up, especially if someone's going to take a position from somebody. How do you bring that player into your fold? Because it's happening more and more often now. And what's that like for you as a head coach when that does happen?
Well, I think, speaking on Shannon's case,
sure,
he came in February, so
he had time to acclimate.
And there was time to acclimate, and the kids knew weeks prior.
Yeah,
because the kids around here, they talk.
You're 8 minutes away.
They know each other, and they would ask if, is he coming? And I don't know. If he comes, he comes. But when he did come, it's just
here's the weight room.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
And he bought into it, and he was an extremely hard worker, and he was the kids voted on captains, and they voted him as one of the captains.
It says a lot. So
to come in and make an impact right away, not just on the field, but in the weight room, because he came in February, and that's the toughest time we have in the weight room in terms of we're really getting after it in the weight room. And
that's good.
He set the tone as a hard worker. So once they saw that, and I can't speak for the players, but I can tell, everybody liked him.
Yeah.
And he just fit right in.
And he made a big impact.
A huge impact.
We have 1,700 yards this year.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right. Well, that's the end of this interview. I want to tell you we're establishing a Western Foothills sports network in the area.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we're going to be interviewing coaches from each of the, as we get into the next season. I hope to have interviews with many of the coaches in the Western Foothills Conference, not just Newton and Maiden. But this year, I just want to say how grateful I am to have been able to follow your school and to follow Newton as well, because I felt like reestablishing that rivalry was important for the conference. And it also just shows just how competitive our conference is year in and year out. You got your Hickories and East Lincolns, who right now are way on top, and they're playing great football. But to see the 4A side of the 4A, 5A really be competitive, it says a lot about the Western Foothills. And so I was honored to be able to come out here and film some of your games and be a part of this team too. So Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. We appreciate you and everything you've done to, help our kids. The videos that are out there on Instagram and YouTube and.
Sure. Thanks to It's Focus too. Rob helped a lot.
Yeah, Rob did a great job. He was 7 games.
Yeah.
Well, 8 games, however many he was.
We helped him kind of nose out. He was looking for a school to kind of land at because all last year he was with Hickory. And, that may or may not have been working for him anymore. And he was looking for another platform to kind of be a regular at. And I was already at Newton, and I was like, hey, they're going to have a good season over at Maiden. You may want to just consider going on out there and just being a part of that community for the season. And he took it full stride, and he just started going on his own. So,
and our kids really love that. And I watched a couple or parts of some of them, but
sure,
I would see our kids
staring at their phones.
And I was like, how? 20-minute video of the game, and
they'll watch the whole thing.
And they're watching the whole thing.
Yeah, there's something about that format. We may be doing more of that next year too.
Yeah, it's really neat, and we appreciate that.
Takes some organizing on the front end as a videographer to make that happen, and Rob really had that locked down all season. So, kudos to him. But thank you, Coach. This has been a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Rob.
Yeah, we'll let him know.
Yeah.
Cool.
For doing it.
Well, I'm Josh Lloyd, and this is the Western Foothills Sports Network. All right, we'll talk to you.